Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video will be a very important one and interesting one because, for one thing, we will be mostly talking about Hurricane Beryl, which is a Category 4 major hurricane with sustained winds of 130 miles per hour with a pressure of 960 millibars. It is now moving west-northwest at 18 miles per hour, and it is forecast to slam through the Windward Islands, the southern Lesser Antilles, and bring with it powerful major hurricane winds, strong heavy rain, and storm surge. Especially tomorrow. It'll be moving through tomorrow, especially tomorrow morning. It'll be starting to move through. As of 5 p.m., we now have also Tropical Depression 3. So here we go. Here's our third tropical cyclone of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, currently at 35 miles per hour, 1,006 millibars. Take a quick look at that. Let's see if National Hurricane Center has it forming into a tropical storm. It does by the time, likely by overnight tonight, around 1 a.m. Tonight, as it's making landfall. There's a tropical storm warning there for the central southern Mexican Gulf Coast, and it'll be moving inland and dissipating by the time we get towards tomorrow afternoon. So it's a very quick spin-up type of tropical system. It'll be in and out within a day. So now let's focus on Beryl. Beryl is a Category 4 major hurricane. Let's take a look at the discussion real quick. Scroll down to show the wind speeds. You can see by the time 12 hours from now, it'll be at 145 miles per hour by 6Z tonight. So around 1 a.m. tonight, it'll be at 145 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center is predicting. It'll be at 140 miles per hour by 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And this is like really, it'll be impacting, it'll already be impacting, making landfall in the Windward Islands, southern Lesser Antilles by this time. It'll likely be reaching it by early tomorrow morning when most of us are waking up around 6 to 7 a.m. So this is very concerning. Now, it has it continuing to weaken as it continues to move through the Caribbean and towards the Gulf of Mexico, and it has it becoming a tropical storm by the time we get towards towards Friday, towards the end of this week and towards the beginning of next weekend. But however, we're really focusing on right now and over the next really couple of days, where you can see hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, tropical storm watches are all in effect throughout the Windward Islands, southern Lesser Antilles. And tropical storm watches are also in place now for the southern coast of Hispaniola for both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It'll be passing just to the south, it looks like, of Jamaica as a hurricane, but it will be a weakening system, it looks like, as it continues through the Caribbean, because there will be enhanced wind shear, it looks like, as it gets towards the central and western Caribbean. So fortunately, it won't be just continuing to move westward and just continuing to strengthen and get stronger and stronger as it continues to the west through the entire Caribbean, because without the wind shear, it would have still probably basically perfect conditions for it to continue to strengthen and get stronger and stronger as it continues through the Caribbean, because the sea surface temperatures all through the Caribbean are extremely warm for it to feed off of, for it to get more fuel and to strengthen more and more, and possibly even rapidly intensify more in the Caribbean if there wasn't any wind shear. Thankfully, there is some moderate to possibly stronger wind shear once it gets towards the central Caribbean and western Caribbean, hence why the National Hurricane Center has it weakening as it gets into the Caribbean, especially as it gets into the central and western Caribbean. Now, the big question mark, really, as we get through this week and towards the end of this week into next weekend is, what will it do once it gets towards the western Caribbean and it gets towards crossing the Yucatan Peninsula and into the Gulf of Mexico? Will it just continue to the west or slight northwest, just into the Mexican coast, or could it curve more to the north and northwest up towards the Texas-Louisiana coastline of the Gulf Coast of the U.S. So we will really have to watch that closely as we continue through the week. But as of now, all high alert is really on the Windward Islands, as major hurricane Beryl is just continuing to intensify and get stronger as it quickly approaches them, and will impact them starting tomorrow morning, especially making landfall there tomorrow morning. Now, let's take a look at the rainfall potential now for this system as it moves through the Windward Islands. And you can see 6+ inches locally in the lighter yellow, 8+ inches in the darker orange, and then 10 plus inches locally within that darkest shade of orange. Really likely right where the center of the storm and really the heaviest of rainfall around the eye and the eye wall will be going through. You can see everywhere else generally 1 to 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. Regardless, it's still a heavy rain coming down in a short amount of time. Heavy rainfall, because of that, flash flooding will be a concern and a threat, along with storm surge. And of course, with it being a major hurricane, very, very strong winds, power outages, a lot of damage to trees. So that it will be likely a major, major disaster in this area once it moves through and makes landfall tomorrow. Now, let's take a look at tropical tidbits and take a look at Major Hurricane Beryl. So here we go. Here is the current IR loop of Beryl, and you can see it has a very, very well-defined eye with intense convection blowing up all around the center. And it's really mostly just a gorgeous, gorgeous storm, a very intense, terrifying one at that as well. But you can see to the eastern side, it is dealing with some moderate shear right now, but it's really not enough, and it will subside as we get into later tonight and this evening. It'll subside, and it'll start to allow the storm to intensify once again, get stronger, and start to look better. But you can see its western side, everywhere else is really just, it's looking great. And it is continuing on this west-northwest track towards the Windward Islands here. Now, I want to quickly just switch to the visible high-res, show you that real quick, as the day is starting to set on this storm. But you can see it is just a gorgeous storm to look at on satellite imagery. The recon that has gone through the storm today, we can show you that real quick. You can see this recon flight ended up finding peak winds up to around 125, 130 knots, hence why, but it really ended up, they really just ended up keeping it at 130 knots because it was a lot more suspect as it got towards that 130 to 140 knots that the recon had found at the surface, of rain contamination and all of that. Now, this recon flight, actually, let's zoom in here to show you. They generally, as they were flying through, they found the pressure was continuing to rapidly fall. First, they found pressure at 969. Then they found it all the way down to 964, 965. Started to stay steady for a bit there. Then it fell again and got down to what the pressure is now at 960 millibars. It continues to be as of the 5 p.m. advisory. And this recon flight also found pretty similar winds. It only found up to around down to around 966 millibars in the center, but this was really this other recon flight that was also in there was really able to find the much lower pressure that it's at now. There were some recon flights that flew into what was an invest and now Tropical Depression 3 that was able to confirm that it is now a tropical depression and likely will become a quick tropical storm. And the next name on the list is Chris. So Chris could be named as we get into tonight, right before it makes landfall in Mexico, bringing some more heavy rain to the Mexico coastline, which it really doesn't need after all the rain and flooding that Alberto brought with it about a week and a half ago. Now, let's take a look at the models, and let's take a look first at the hurricane model. So let's take a look at the HWRF model for Beryl, and here we go. This is the 12Z run, so this is showing it at 1 p.m., so fairly recently, showing it down around 963 millibars, so fairly accurate to what the pressure is now. We move it forward in time, and the HWRF model continues to have it as a pretty strong system, and ends up bringing the pressure all the way down into the 950s to around 950, and then into the 940s potentially as we get towards midweek. This seems, I will say, pretty overdone, and it actually has it going straight over Jamaica. This really has it, I think, pretty overdone, but then again, it gets towards over Jamaica, and then that is really where it's going to start dealing with stronger shear, so it shows it to start to weaken a bit more, but then really start to, and here's the interesting, we're getting a bit far out now, getting towards when it could be, towards the end of the work week, towards Friday and the beginning of next weekend, where it'll be closer to the Yucatan Peninsula and the Gulf, and so at this point, the HWRF model has a storm just continue to strengthen and actually miss the Yucatan and go through the Yucatan Channel right between Cuba and the northern, or the end of the Yucatan Peninsula, and straight into the Gulf of Mexico, where it has it just to continue to intensify and be over those very, very warm Gulf of Mexico waters, which we all know just can really help to intensify a storm much quicker and have it rapidly intensify much quicker than normal in that area. Let's take a look now at the HMON model. The HMON model 12Z run has it at a much lower pressure than it actually currently is now, in the already low 950s, which is interesting. We move it forward, has it going through the Windward Islands around, let's see, around the mid 950s to around 960 millibars. So that is still somewhat accurate, to a little lower than what the pressure is currently in the storm. Now, as it continues through the Caribbean into the Central Caribbean, goes just south of Jamaica, and you can see the pressure is getting a good bit higher now because of all that shear that it encounters in the Central to Western Caribbean. And you can see as it gets into the Western Caribbean, the HMO model really has it weakening and kind of falling apart because of all that shear it encounters, and really has it unravel as it heads over the Yucatan Peninsula. So that is what the HMON model is showing. Now let's take a look at the HAFS A model, and then we'll take a look at the HAFS B model. So this is the 12Z run for this model for Beryl, and you can see the HAFS A model really has it a lot weaker of a system as it moves through the much weaker of a system as it heads through the Windward Islands, through the Caribbean, through and heads over Jamaica, right over Jamaica, as a much weaker system dealing with shear, and then heads over the northern parts of the Yucatan and into the Gulf there towards the end of the run, towards the end of this work weekend into next weekend. So that's what the HAFS A model shows for Beryl, which really is not all that accurate, to be honest, especially pressure-wise. HAFS B model also is kind of a similar story here, where it shows a much higher pressure, a much more disorganized kind of a system for Beryl as it continues through the Caribbean and goes over much more of the central and southern parts of the Yucatan before it enters the Gulf of Mexico, and has it as a much weaker system, and weakening a ton as it heads over the Yucatan towards the end of this work week and into the beginning of next weekend. So now let's actually look at the GFS model. And then this is kind of cool. You go from the actual hurricane models to the GFS model, so we just get it straight up zoomed in immediately. You can see the GFS model, kind of similar to the HAFS A and HAFS B models, showing it as a very inaccurately pressure-wise, especially with the system just falling apart entirely, going over the Yucatan, going south of Hispaniola, and then where is Jamaica? Has it basically going over Jamaica, or just south of the southern Jamaican coast, and then over the Yucatan Peninsula and into the Gulf, where it has it just as a very weak system moving through the Gulf, and then at the end of the run, which is by next Sunday, has it hitting the Texas coastline, or the southern Texas coastline. So, and that's what the GFS model is showing. Not very accurate whatsoever, if you're asking me. At this point, really, I don't know. We shouldn't really be looking at the global models, but we'll show them anyway. Really, at this point, we'll be looking at should be focusing just on the hurricane models for what the hurricane models are really showing intensity-wise for Beryl, but global models still show that they're in agreement with what the National Hurricane Center is showing with the track of Beryl. The European model showing it going a bit more southerly type of track, where it just goes straight through the southwestern Caribbean into the northern northern Mexican coastline there towards this next upcoming weekend, towards the end of this next weekend. So that's what the European model is showing, and for as well to end off or actually we can't even show the CMC model. 12Z runs just come in. So that is what generally all the models are showing for Beryl moving forward with its track and where it will be heading. Quickly, let's take a look at the sea surface temperatures of the Western Atlantic, where Beryl is tracking through. Beryl currently is in this general area. We'll be continuing to the west-northwest. You can see sea surface temperature-wise, water temperature-wise, not an issue whatsoever for Beryl strength for to be a strong major hurricane, for it to be able to maintain strength. Sea surface temperatures will not be an issue whatsoever. All throughout the Caribbean, all throughout the Gulf of Mexico, all throughout the rest of the MDR, tropical Atlantic there, where Beryl is right now. Sea surface temperatures generally are 28, 29, even 30, up towards near 30 degrees Celsius, especially in the northern parts of the Caribbean there and the southern parts of the Gulf of Mexico towards Cuba and the Florida coast. So generally, though, Beryl will be going over 28, 29 degrees Celsius waters, which will be plenty warm for it to still remain a pretty strong system as it continues to the west northwest. The only issue is it will be dealing with moderate to strong shear as it continues towards the central and especially western Caribbean. So that will really allow it to weaken, even though water temperatures would say otherwise, for it to be able to continue to get stronger. So let's take a look now. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season overall. We have 3 total systems, 2 named storms, 1 hurricane, 1 major hurricane. That obviously is Beryl. Beryl's strongest system so far this season, obviously, 130 miles per hour, 960 millibars. The season's second system, Hurricane Beryl, formed in the main development region on June 29th, then rapidly intensified to a Category 4 strength, becoming the strongest June hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin. This is unprecedented. We've never seen this before. There's never been a Category 4 hurricane form in the month of June, let alone this early in the season. This is unprecedented territory that Beryl has achieved. There is nothing else like it. And I mean, obviously we have Tropical Depression 3 that is now formed that will, it seems, likely become Chris as a very quick forming tropical storm before it moves inland in Mexico and brings some more heavy rain and flooding to Mexico, which they really don't need. The ACE index of the season is currently now up to 4 units, and this is mostly and basically all due to Beryl with how strong it is. It's a strong major hurricane. It's going to produce more ACE because of that, which stands for accumulated cyclone energy. And the longer it lasts, the higher the ACE index will go, because strong, long-lived tropical cyclones will create the most ACE out of any tropical cyclones that form during an Atlantic hurricane season or any hurricane season globally. So there we go. We have 3 systems total so far, and Beryl is really the highlight right now that we are focusing on the most, with the just devastating blow it looks like it will bring heading into early tomorrow morning, throughout the day tomorrow on Monday, to the Windward Islands, southern Western Antilles. So everyone there who lives there, if you're watching this video, I really hope you're prepared, really hope you're ready for this storm, because it will pack a punch. It is going to be a strong Category 4 hurricane as it moves through, bringing with it very strong hurricane force winds, heavy flooding, rainfall, and devastating storm surge, most likely, to all the islands there. And so that is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you found it enjoyable to some degree. I don't know how enjoyable you really find it, but hopefully you found it really, more importantly, informative, helpful. If you live in the Windward Islands, I really hope you're prepared. Hopefully you found this video insightful, helpful especially. And like the video, comment down below, how strong do you think Beryl will likely get in the end? And let's have a nice lively chat about that in the comments section. How crazy do you think this Atlantic hurricane season is going to be now that we've already had our first major hurricane at this point? And it's the last day of June. We haven't even gotten to July yet. Tomorrow's the first day of July. So comment down below. Let's have a nice lively chat down there in the comments section about Beryl. How strong do you guys think it will be? How crazy do you think this hurricane season will be now that we've had our first major hurricane? What do you think the peak season's going to look like? Subscribe to the channel for more future content like this throughout the rest of the hurricane season. More updates on Beryl, especially at the current moment. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.